Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so who should we start with? Which story of abuse shall we start with?
So I have a few that are kind of similar, and I figure I will start with those, and
Okay,
then we'll kind of switch gears. So
perfect.
first and foremost, I've got this is from, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Eve and Camille Besser. They are two sisters. So I'm going to read just a little bit of this.
Perfect.
But it starts off: Courtney Love assaults two concert goers who call her murderer. Boston, Massachusetts. On May 22nd, 1999, during the Q102 Jamboree at the New World Music Theater in Tenley Park, Illinois. In a story that has gone completely unreported by the press, Courtney Love assaulted two young women who accused her of being a murderer. The sisters, Eve and Camille Besser of suburban Chicago, may be filing a lawsuit against Love. When Love and her band Hole, sorry, this is like super tiny writing. When Love and her band Hole walked out on stage, the young women, wearing Kurt Cobain t-shirts and wearing homemade signs, used the opportunity to protest the murder of Kurt Cobain, calling Love a quote-unquote murderer and killer. Within minutes, Courtney Love attacked the pair in front of the Jamboree audience, repeatedly punching both and leaving Eve Besser with a severe black eye. And then it goes on to talk about the concert. But then later that night, Camille is let backstage. Like, I believe Courtney requests for her to be brought backstage
Right.
to talk to her.
Now, are these the girls? You might have heard this in our Dylan podcast, but this is just, yet another reference to Dylan being there when Kurt died. Is there something in there about the girls saying
that's
that?
um that's what I'm trying to find right now. Um oh, Camille said, because she was asked, did you ask her anything else? And she said, no, she just started volunteering information. It was unbelievable. She said, quote, Dylan Carlson was with him when he died, end quote. So then I said, I thought you didn't know where he was during the 2 days before he died. And then she stopped and started stammering and said, quote, I mean, not the day he died, but the days before, end
Mm,
quote. And then she started
sure.
getting all flustered. She had totally contradicted herself.
Can we
Um,
just can I jump in and say
yeah,
one, I thought Dylan said he didn't see or talk to Kurt after Exodus. And
that's what he
two,
said.
um when the cops question her, if the cops are like even 3 out of 10 into this questioning her, she is going to fold like I don't know. I want to make a laundry joke here, but I can't think of
A
one.
cheap
Like,
suit.
yes, exactly. Like, there is literally, she will not be able to, for 1 minute, keep her story straight. Well, since people have talked about this, popular podcaster Candace Owens, I believe,
Mm.
was talking about an email that Courtney sent her, where Courtney admits that Kurt's death was a homicide, and she talks about, I think she says something about MK Ultra, the CIA. I don't know. She's
Mm.
just deflecting blame because she's obviously, she knows what we're doing. We're told she sits and has a few joints and watches our podcast. Hi, Courtney.
Hi.
Um,
Hi,
and
Yoko Ono.
you might need to smoke a little extra for these next few ones because we're going in hard on your
Pop
Epstein
a Valium
connection.
too.
Yeah, indeed. And you might want to give me one just because I get really riled up when I talk about you. So,
Mm.
we're going to talk about your Epstein connection, how you trafficked girls for Epstein and young boys. And we're going to
Mm.
talk about the abuse of Francis. Lots of really good stuff coming up because now that now that all the evidence is out there that Kurt's death was a homicide, some people still, how people are like, oh, I just never thought of that person as doing this horrible thing. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, most people know who Courtney is, I think. But if they don't, they're gonna find out very quickly that, again, she's an animal murderer, child abuser, sexual
Well,
predator.
yeah. And I feel like most of the people, at least most of the people that like I have either seen or interacted with, their reason for thinking that Kurt wasn't murdered is because one, they don't think she's capable of it. And it's usually for two reasons, two prominent reasons. One being that she was too much of a junkie and junkies wouldn't be capable of pulling that off.
Mm.
Or they don't think she's smart enough
Oh,
to have
oh
been
no.
able to pull that off.
Oh, she's very.
Um,
Who has
and
ever
she's,
said
I
Courtney
mean,
isn't smart? Like
I will
anybody who
sit here
knows
and tell you,
Courtney
I
is
think
smart.
she's incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
Um, she's sharp.
Yeah. And everyone
That's
knows, and I think Courtney would say this herself, that she utilized her knowledge of the media, like in Debt to Your Priceless Advice is, I think, a
mm,
reference to her media savvy. And
yep,
so I think we all know that she used the media to become famous, and she did that
yeah,
very well. So I'm sorry, she can manipulate hundreds of different journalists and editors and manipulate the media to make a I mean, I'm not trying to be. I think there's some good music on Live Through This and on Celebrity Skin. Again, not because she probably wrote it, but to make a mediocre band
yeah.
very famous. And so she manipulated the media to do this, but you're telling me she can't off her husband? Do you know how many watch Dateline, guys? Come on. Do you know how many people kill their spouse and they're not particularly clever?
I'll say there's a lot of people that I would say are probably half as smart as
Oh,
Courtney.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, how
That
many people do we not know about that have gotten away with that are not
that
super
too.
clever? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Heck, there's a Menson that pulled off a murder and didn't even get away with it.
yes,
So
and that is a good one. If you guys don't know that one, it's I can't even remember where I saw it. Was it an Unsolved
it's
Mysteries?
um no, I think it's Forensic Files.
Okay. And it's about
Either
where
Forensic Files or Cold Case Files, one of the two.
okay. And he
But I think
puts
Forensic.
poison in, he recaps Coca-Cola, leaves it at their door of the neighbor that he wanted to kill, and ends up poisoning her and killing her. But
Yeah,
oh, the cops did some excellent work in that one.
yeah.
Honestly, they
And
they really slayed. So,
yeah. And it was the
um,
forensics, so I'm pretty sure it was Forensic Files because it was the
okay,
forensics that broke it open and yeah.
that makes sense. Okay, but I digress. Okay, sorry. Go ahead back to the article.
Um so that was all I was going to read of that one.
Okay.
But I have several more that
Perfect. Of where she's assaulted women. Let's roll in.
um yeah. So the next one, this is from Melissa Rossi's Courtney Love, the Queen of Noise, the most unauthorized biography. Um so when Hole played Portland, Courtney walked on stage before a screaming full house chanting her name as though she were the second coming. By the third song, she'd stomped off. The reason was painfully obvious. Someone had yelled out, "You killed Kurt." "I'm not playing anymore," she said, dropping her guitar. "You can blame that little fucker." The crowd screamed for the band to return, and a frantic fan ran backstage begging for the show to continue. Courtney flipped out, screaming, "Get the fuck away from me." Then she allegedly punched the girl in the mouth. Finally, the petulant one returned to the stage carrying food from backstage. She pelted the crowd with cold cuts, telling them, "We've never had a show as fucked as this." It was a town of losers, she announced to her fans. "No wonder Kathleen Hanna of Bikini Kill turned out so lame," she screamed. "Tanya Harding, look at the women who come out of here."
This is Portland.
Yep. And then the last line there is Courtney neglected to mention that she was one of them.
So anyone who gets booed at a show should run off. I mean, do you know how often that happens to people at concerts? We were just talking about if people out there have read Patty Schemmel's book and Hit So Hard. And we have found a lot of discrepancies in her book, by the way, and we plan to do a podcast talking about those
Oh, yes.
lies. And when we
Oh,
say she's
yes.
lying in her book, we're not just saying like we don't think that. We're saying here are the police reports and here's what she said, and let's look at the two of
Uh,
those and let's look at the
yeah.
dates of the things she's talking about. But anyways, in her book,
There's
she
even Sorry, I was going to say
oh,
there's even one major one where she contradicts herself
yes.
and tells a totally opposite story in a different location. But please go on.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, it's some very amazing creative writing.
Yeah.
Um, so she's talking about watching Sinead O'Connor go on stage a few weeks after her SNL appearance, where she ripped up a picture of the Pope and talking about how booed this poor like Sinead was getting, and she stood up there and performed anyway, and then ran off the stage and cried. But she did the thing that she was supposed to do because she's a fucking professional.
Yep.
And we don't probably need to get into the Pope thing, but just like, so I'm sorry, someone yells something at you and you go and you cry in the back, and now you got your cold cuts. Give me a fucking break. Like, what is
Um,
wrong with this human being?
when I was pulling all of my information earlier this afternoon for this, I came across, and I'd seen it before, but because I'm a glutton for punishment, I rewatched it. There's a clip of a concert from Amsterdam where there's a girl that, like, off screen, and I don't know, like, at least I didn't hear it, but she yells at Courtney like, "You killed Kurt." Courtney finishes the song and then begins berating this girl, um, calling her an ugly fat goth. Um, yeah, and then tells her that she's just jealous because I fucked Trent Reznor and I fucked Brad Pitt and I married Kurt and
Hmm.
I this, that, and the other, and you're just jealous, you
Did she
fat
fuck
ugly
Brad
goth.
Pitt though?
No,
I have valid
no,
questions.
she sure did
Right.
not. He literally, it's when I was flipping through this trying to find the story for Mary Lou Lord, there's literally a part in here where it addresses that and, like, says how Brad Pitt, when he heard that she was saying that, was very confused, and says they've talked on the phones a couple of times and, like, he's hung out with her before, but they certainly have never done anything more than that.
I mean,
uh,
did he cut
so
his own dick off at the thought of
I
it? Because, like,
probably wanted to.
gross.
Yeah.
Now I'm just wondering if that's going to
Ooh.
be edited out. Um, so, okay.
Potentially.
Okay, so she, of course, thinks it's perfectly valid. I mean, talking about women, the way they look, that's kind of all she does, which again fascinates me considering her visual situation, you know?
um
Um,
Well, and I have a couple of so I'm gonna hang on to Mary Lou Lord. We'll do that one in a minute. Um I've got a couple here that relate to looks because
Perfect.
you know, feminism, clearly it's all about being beautiful, right? That's the only thing that matters
Everything
when you're a
is.
feminist. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um so the first thing I have here is, oops, it's an article from May 1994 Select magazine. Um, there's an article by Andrew Harrison, um, which, if you remember, the pen pal letter that Tom Grant found, like when he was making the copy of the note from the scene, there was a letter that he took a copy of as well that she had written, and he calls it the pen pal letter.
Oh,
That's
yes.
addressed
Okay.
to Andrew Harrison and another
Okay.
journalist from Select magazine. Um, this is just a small little thing, but I thought it was uh, pretty loud for what it is. So Harrison asks her, right, you've also said you don't consider yourself a feminist. Courtney responds, quote, feminism is a dirty word over here because your feminists are so ugly. They are. Every picture I saw of those women at the nuclear plants, they were not pretty. I remember my mother having our bodies ourselves and seeing the women and thinking, ugh, shave a leg. I didn't want to be associated with feminism because I thought it would make me ugly.
I mean, that's just you, babe. That's
I,
literally who you are. And
yeah,
it's okay. We don't want you either. So
nope,
feminism, it literally wants nothing to do with you. So you're good.
no. Um, and then we're going to double down on that. I'm
Perfect.
going
I
to
love
read.
it.
This is a compilation of roller derby
Cool.
articles, which is Lisa Crystal Carver. So this is an interview. This is from an interview that Lisa Crystal Carver did with Courtney in 1993. And I'm just going to read you this little snippet from it because it's kind of long. But so Courtney says, Courtney, you remember me on the cover of Flipside in the pre-nose job days. Lisa, I thought your nose looked good. The thing about, say, if you have a big nose, which is not supposed to be beautiful, is that if you do become famous or powerful with your big nose intact, the nose adds to the strength of your image. The idiosyncrasy sets you apart, above, like Frida Kahlo's eyebrow. Courtney, I have other strengths. I have to be pretty if I'm going to get over. And I have to get over if I'm going to fuck the system up. And I'm going to fuck it up. Lisa, I don't think your prettiness got you where you are. There are thousands of perfect face girls who. Courtney, bullshit. Lisa, until I fixed myself, I wasn't offered a fucking job anywhere but in a strip joint. The minute I fucking got pretty. And then Kurt chimes in. Kurt Cobain, why don't you talk to her about your real problems? Courtney, I'm talking to Lisa Suckdog. Does that matter to you? Kurt, no. Courtney, I'll be off the phone in a few minutes. Can you give me that little space for my other life? Kurt, our life is a little more important. Courtney, well, Kurt, your rock band is more important. Kurt, my rock band, I don't even fucking talk about my rock band. Courtney, well, I'm a feminist and I try to fucking help other feminists, and I'm sorry if that offends you. And I'm not going to talk to her about my fucking drug problem. We're talking about beauty and skin. Kurt, I'm not offended by your being a feminist, Courtney, and I really resent you putting those words in my mouth. Courtney, then why did you swagger out and tell me to talk about my real problems? Kurt, because we need to get on the ball with this. Courtney, all right, I'll be off in 3 minutes, all right? Lisa, I've got 3 minutes, okay?
Um,
Um, at the beginning of the article, she goes on this whole thing talking about how she doesn't have very long um, because she's got some really messed up stuff going on, and that you'll be seeing it in the paper soon. And so clearly her and Kurt had something major and upsetting and distressing going on and were fighting, and there was some ugliness there. Um, but, she's got time to sit there and do this fake feminist whatever interview and give advice on how to lose weight by not eating cheese and you know
mm.
get nasty with their husband. So
I want to actually read something too. Speaking of which,
yes, please.
we have a friend friend to the podcast who had a friend who was Courtney's assistant for years.
Mm,
Courtney would demand this assistant shoot her up with heroin, which was, yeah, I suppose in the job description.
mm,
And her friend, born and raised in LA, very tough, very, totally part of the music scene, knows what to expect. But Courtney would badger and abuse her about everything. She would get an inch from her face and scream, "What are you going to do? Cry about it?" Now, does that sound, criticizing any sort of sensitivity, does that sound like that may have happened to anyone else we can
mm,
possibly think of? Um, so
yeah.
she would also use drugs as bait. So she knew what the girl's addiction was, and then she would use drugs to, of course, bait her and get her to do what she wanted. Again, sounds like anyone else we know.
A lot of
Um,
somebody's, but one person in particular, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then she would threaten to tell everyone, who this, or what this girl's addictions were, et cetera. It was like, that Nexium cult that Allison Mack was a part of, where it was like
Mm,
they made girls give them like naked pictures or whatever, tell them their darkest secrets so that they had
yeah.
something on them. I mean, again,
Blackmail.
Courtney blackmail. She knows cult behavior and did
Mm,
this to everyone in her orbit so that she
yeah.
would have something on them, and that they couldn't leave or couldn't, get out from her sphere of influence.
Yeah, because the only way she can keep people around is if she has power over them to make them stay and do what she wants.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, what else do we have? So we did that. Now there have been some
Uh,
lawsuits. We know most people that Courtney's physically assaulted. Oh, and don't we need to talk about Kathleen Hanna again as well, since we just
yeah, I'll say
talked about
I've
her.
got there's one more I'm gonna throw in here really quick. Um, this is from totalizermagazine.com. Um, it's the last part is the part that matters, but I'm going to read all of this because I think all of this matters and it speaks to who Courtney is. And I think it's important. Courtney Love was the frontwoman for Hole, a grunge band from the 90s that would often be associated with the Riot Girl movement and other Riot Girl bands. Up until recently, I, like many others who are fans of Hole, thought Courtney Love was a badass. She dressed how she wanted to, wrote the coolest music, and was completely unapologetic about who she was as a person. It was easy to look up to her, especially as a musician, due to Hole's uniquely brilliant discography. This illusion of the badass, unapologetic feminist frontwoman, however, was swiftly shattered upon finding a YouTube video of her at a Hole concert, instructing the crowd to scream the N-word, hard R. So much for a feminist icon. This shocking display of racism led me down a rabbit hole of all the disgusting and oppressive behavior Love has participated in. She asked a black man who was wearing a do-rag, quote, "What is the problem with African Americans? What is wrong with your own hair?" End quote. And on another occasion, asked a black woman who was attending a Hole concert, quote, "Do you really like rock music? Because you're African American. That would be like me being into Lil Wayne." End quote.
Actually, not, bitch. Chuck Berry.
I,
Have you heard of him?
I literally, it makes me so mad. Like it, yeah. Um, This last part, though, Love also blamed a girl for being raped by asking her, quote, "What did you think they would do? You knew this was coming, right?" End quote. She previously alleged that she herself could not be raped because she doesn't have, quote, "victim energy," end quote. How was it possible that such a woman could ever be considered a strong, progressive feminist? Bikini Kill singer Kathleen Hanna attempted to call Courtney out on being a fake feminist, and Love punched Hanna in the face. She even went on to brag about this altercation.
What is the story too about her? Didn't she throw candy in Kathleen's face? Some in the
That's my
back
next
of.
step.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Perfect. Did you end up reading
Yeah.
that whole book?
No, I haven't yet. It is on my to-do list.
Well, you only read like 400 books a year, so that'll
Yeah.
be $3.99.
Yeah. Okay. So this is obviously from Rebel Girl by Kathleen Hanna. The Courtney thing. The next time I went to Lollapalooza was a year later in 1995. It was at the Gorge Amphitheater. My roommates, Amy and Lake, and I drove there from Olympia in our shared baby blue Dodge Dart, which I found really weird that they
Oh,
also
yeah.
had a baby blue Dodge Dart.
That is weird.
We had backstage passes from Kim Gordon. I loved Sonic Youth and was excited to see them play. But I'd seen them 100 times and had never seen Sinead O'Connor live. The
Oh.
Lion and the Cobra had been my quote unquote "I'm becoming a feminist" soundtrack, and Sinead's songs were living in my skin like pockets of salve waiting to heal me. Just as we stepped out of the car, we heard her singing a long note and began running for the backstage gate. By the time we got there, the song had ended. There was silence and then applause. She was done. We'd heard her last note from the dirty parking lot. Sonic Youth's backstage was like a single wide mobile home. I went in to say thanks for the backstage passes and made a sandwich. I didn't want to be in the band's way and was about to leave when Kim mentioned that she was worried that Courtney Love might start shit with me. Courtney had gotten physical with Kurt's former friends before, and Kim thought I might be next. Up to that point, I'd never met Courtney, and even though she'd gone to great lengths to insult me in interviews, I still defended her when people said she was crazy or difficult. I knew what it was like to be called things like that. I also loved the first Whole single so much, I played it almost as many times as I'd played Iron Man by Black Sabbath. Kathy once sent Courtney a fan letter, and Courtney wrote back, quote, "Find the biggest bitch in town and start a band," end quote. Little did she know Kathy was already in a band with two of the biggest bitches in Olympia. Kathy stayed pen pals with Courtney, and when we lived in DC, Courtney offered to help us get on a major label. Kathy told her, quote, "Thanks, but we just want to remain independent," end quote. I don't know if that pissed her off or if she was jealous of the attention Bikini Kill was getting or what, but after that, she made it clear in the press that she hated our band, so I wasn't exactly excited to run into her. I needed a plan in case I did, so Kim and I came up with a sentence. I would be happy to debate you at the college of your choice, end quote. I figured if she yelled at me, I would just repeat it like a force field. Hole played before Sonic Youth, and Courtney kept shouting "girls to the front" and other phrases I typically said at Bikini Kill shows between
Of course
songs.
she fucking did.
Yep. It seemed empty and weird because there was plenty of space to dance and no men were messing with women. Lake and Amy glared at me as if to say, "Is she ripping you off?" I took it as a bizarre homage. But when Sonic Youth started, we moved to the side of the stage near the railing where it dropped off into the gorge. As the band began to play, something that felt like pebbles started to hit me in the head. It was candy. Who was throwing candy? I saw Courtney Love walking toward me, throwing candy from a basket. She was flanked by two large dudes and seemed wasted. My instincts told me not to make eye contact with her. Courtney got in my face and started hissing like a cat and reached out like she was going to claw me. She began screaming stuff at me like, "Bye bye. Are you leaving now, Kathleen? Go home and feed the poor." She held her lit cigarette up to my face and traced my features with it like she was going to put it out on my face.
Is she in
Then
Stand
she
By
dro-
Me? Like, what is actually
I
happening right now? She's going to burn Kathleen with a cigarette on her face?
literally I Then she dropped a sweater in front of me and bent down to grab it. As she stood up, she cold cocked me in the face. I fell down, put my hand up to my cheek, and felt blood. From the ground, I yelled, "I will debate you at the college of your choice." She yelled back something like, "You can't even read, and I'm way more feminist than you." I'll never know why she did it. Maybe
What?
I literally, it doesn't even make sense. Like, that's like the worst comeback. "I'll debate you. You can't even
Oh
read,
my
and I'm more of
God.
a feminist than you are." Take that. Um, I don't even know why she did it. Maybe because trauma
This video
begets
got over 8
trauma.
million views.
So sorry. My phone
You're
just went
okay.
off. Usually I have it off. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. Maybe she was on drugs and mourning Kurt's death. Maybe it was the fact that Toby had dated Kurt while she was writing Nevermind, and it was widely speculated that Toby was the inspiration for much of that record. Maybe Courtney was embarrassed because I'd seen her using my stage banter as an empty shtick. Whatever set her off, it was ironic that a woman attacked me for no reason and then claimed that she was a smarter, better feminist than I was. As we left the theater's parking lot, I got directions to the nearest police station. Not like I trusted cops. I just wanted the assault to be written down somewhere so no one could pretend it had never happened or say that it was a quote unquote fight like they had when Courtney assaulted singer Mary Lou Lord. Courtney later spouted off in the press about how she wanted to kill her. Mary Lou was a street musician and couldn't drop everything and press charges. So I had her in mind when I filed a report. The state decided to prosecute Courtney for assault, and I gave my deposition on the phone to avoid seeing her in person. Courtney pleaded guilty, and she didn't receive any jail time. I think in the end, she had to go to an anger aromatherapy session or something. 3 days after she hit me, Courtney walked on stage with a bandaged wrist and said, "I hit a bitch and she deserved it." Later, she told the media I provoked her by whispering, "Where's the baby?" in a closet with an IV under my breath, referring to her daughter.
That sounds
Which
like
that
something
doesn't.
Kathleen would say. Give me a break.
I absolutely did not say that. I don't even understand it. Who makes medical jokes about anyone, much less a baby? The fight became national news and was mentioned everywhere from Rolling Stone to Entertainment Weekly to the Washington Post. The media was pushing the narrative that Courtney and I had been in a cat fight, which just reminded me that pitting women against one another sold magazines. When I handed in my rent check that month, the woman who opened the envelope read my name and said, "Aren't you the girl who attacked Courtney Love?" So you think she did say that to Courtney?
No. The
Oh.
medical joke? Oh, I said yeah, as if she would say that. Like, that's not even
Oh, I thought,
funny.
okay, I misheard you. I thought you
Oh
said
my
that sounds like
gosh.
something Kathleen would say.
Oh,
That's
I
why I was like,
did.
oh.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like something Kathleen would say. But you're reading, so you don't get to see my incredibly telling facial gestures.
Yes, your adorable tells.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
No, but I think like, again, that's like, who would come up with something so bizarre?
I
Not Kathleen,
literally,
that's for sure.
no, and like not only does it not sound like something Kathleen would say or anyone really, But it's clearly Courtney grasping at straws, trying to like hone in on like the two things that she thinks would justify her hitting her.
Yep,
Like, oh,
exactly.
well, she attacked me and my daughter and drugs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm a widow and I'm mourning. And so yeah, of
Oh
course
yeah.
we fought. I wasn't going to tolerate that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking joke, man.